From this morning's AM show, this relates to our conversation last night with Raf and the leader of the opposition being asked about doing a deal with TOP.
I'm well. Are you going to do a deal with Raf Manji?
We're doing no deals with any political parties across New Zealand this election. We've got a fantastic candidate here in Ilam, Hamish Campbell. He's doing a brilliant job. And frankly, a vote for TOP or any other minor party is a vote for Labour and more of the same of New Zealand going backwards. And so it's all about party vote national. That's what we want New Zealanders to understand.
That definitely wasn't included in the question.
But that is a bizarre thing to say, and we will actually, he gets asked about that later. But let me just say, he said a vote for anyone other than national is a vote for Labour. So New Zealand First, ACT, you know what I mean? Because he said any minor party, any party other than national. Now, does he genuinely mean that, or was that a brain fart? Ryan Bridge jumps in and does ask him that later on, so I'll give you that as well. I'll give you the answer to it. He's still talking about Raf and TOP.
Wouldn't you prefer to work with Raf over Winston Peters, though?
As I said, we're not doing deals with any political party. That's a choice for the New Zealand people to determine how they exercise their party vote, and as a result, what results we get on election night. And as I've been saying now for months, is a vote for any other party, TOP or any other minor party, is frankly a vote for Labour, wealth tax,
any other
and more
minor
going
party
backwards. And that's just not what we're up for.
So he's just said a vote for ACT is a vote for wealth tax, because he said any other minor party is a vote for wealth tax. That's ACT. That's New Zealand First.
I think New Zealanders understand they need change. They've actually got to step up to the plate and actually vote for change, and that means party vote national.
Have you talked to Raf about this, or has he tried to call you to do a deal?
Our team have made it very clear to him months ago that actually that is not on the table. It's not something that we're even interested in.
So he tried months ago to try and do this?
Yeah, and frankly...
That's not what Raf told us last night. We'll replay something. Luxon has just said that Raf tried to do a deal months ago.
It's just not going to happen. We are not doing deals with any political party across New Zealand. The message is really simple. If you want change, if you think the country's heading in the wrong direction, you may need be an undecided voter. You may never have voted for National before, but actually National's going to govern for all New Zealanders.
No deals.
Why do they let him run on this stuff, eh?
Yeah, I guess that's what they're doing, though, isn't it? So last night we spoke to Raf about that, and I repeated a quote from the news item that attributed something to him that he hadn't said, but he did end up saying this to us last night.
Well, I'm not calling on National to stand aside. No, I have never said that.
I'm not calling on National to stand aside. I've never said that. Yet Luxon just said that he asked them to stand aside. Now, could they both be saying the same thing? Perhaps, but it doesn't sound like that to me.
So you're digging a little bit under the ground here and putting words in my mouth, which I haven't said.
Okay, I'll repeat that. The article said, and it seemed to be attributing it to you. So you're not calling on National to stand aside. You've never had that intimation publicly.
No, because
or privately.
that would be rude. I mean, it's a contest, and I think it would be rude to ask someone to stand aside. No, but
so to be clear, what I said was you've never said that publicly or privately, and he said no. Luxon is saying he said it privately. He contacted them. Now, what's the truth in all that? I'm not sure we entirely know. I wanted to highlight one other thing about the conversation last night because I was uneasy with the conversation and I couldn't figure out why. I finally figured out why. And if you follow me on Twitter, you'll have already seen this today. And I'll explain it, Chewy. Raf tells us, let me just play the audio, which finally explains what my uneasy feeling was. This is talking about, what he's trying to achieve with TOP.
As far as I'm concerned, my main goal is to get the Opportunities Party into Parliament, and I'm going to do that by winning Ilam, and then we'll see what happens.
So my last question, Chewy, I know I've asked every question, then you can jump in with whatever you want, sir. What happens if Labour offered you a cup of tea?
I don't know. Like I said, I haven't even had a conversation.
No, but you haven't had an offer from National either, and we're having that conversation. What would you do if Labour said to you, "Well, we'll put all our support behind you now and tell all our people to vote for you"? What would that mean for you?
I don't think I'd be interested in that. I mean, to be honest, I don't really want a cup of deal. It's I'm going to win Ilam, but strategically for National, it makes sense for them to have insurance.
So, for clarity, he said, "I don't think I'd be interested in that." Now, this is what I realised my uncomfortable feeling was by the end of the night. And I'll just read my text out. Raf states that, quote, "My main goal is to get TOP into Parliament," right? So that's his goal, to get TOP into Parliament. But also says, "I don't think I'd be interested in that when I ask him, what if Labour offered you the seat?" Now, if Labor offered them the seat, he'd get into Parliament. So he's saying his main goal is to get top into Parliament, but I don't think I'd be interested in doing a deal with Labor. So this is the uncomfortable feeling that I had last night, and this is where I've kind of got to. I figured out my uneasiness about this new tactic. It seems what Raf is actually saying is that top wants to be in government, not just in Parliament.
Okay.
Hence, well, because why would he say no to Labor? Because if Labor supporters in Ilam got behind him, he'd be in Parliament. But he went, oh no, I don't really want to do that. I think I'd say no to that. So a little addendum, but sometimes what happens with me is I think about it through the day and I kind of go, that's what it is. So it feels to me like what Top is saying is we want to be in the decision-making process, because that's he's saying, and most people are saying, that's going to be National Act New Zealand First. Even though he's saying, I just want to get into Parliament, why would he turn down a free ride from Labor? What's the reason? The only reason is he doesn't want to be on Labor's side. He wants to be either on the right, or because they are more likely to be in Parliament, he wants to be in Parliament. So it's not that Top wants to be in government. It's not that Top wants to be in Parliament, it's that Top wants to be in government. And that was, I think, I realised today, the uneasy feeling I had about the whole conversation yesterday and couldn't quite figure it out. So why they've moved from supporting no one to supporting both sides to supporting National is they were saying supporting no one. This is my analysis. Supporting no one when they didn't know. They moved to they could support either side when it was a 50-50 call. And now they've moved to they're supporting National because it looks like National is the hand up. So that's what that's how I see it, at least. And now it makes more sense to me after I've seen it like that. I could be wrong, but why would you be saying no to Labor if my main goal is to get Top into Parliament? Why would you say no to Labor? That makes no logical sense.
The other thought that I had about this, right? Okay, say if he got his wish, right, and that he got in somehow with either of the parties, right?
Yeah.
Most of what I have liked about Top some of their policies.
Yeah.
But if you've got one seat and you're there just to swing the numbers, how likely are you to get any of those policies that I like across the lines? Like, they're policies that I would like from a party that would hold the majority of power. Like, if Labor rolled out the teal card and called it something else, I'd be like, this is fucking great policy. But it's the same thing that all the minor parties have. You can have fantastic policy. You may never have to come along and actually put it into effect.
Yeah.
You have to do some negotiation. And I think one Raf in politics is not going to get the teal card through under Labor. Because it'd be like, what do you want, Raf? What do you want? Teal card? No. Sorry, Raf, get out.
But using ACT as an example again, if Top's sole purpose is to get into Parliament, then the teal card comes along in, government number 3. If your sole focus is just to get in, then it's much more easy to stay in once you're in. So you get in, who cares if it's with Labor or National, you just get in. He says that's his main priority. You do the mahi for the next 3 years, you own the seat, and then you start to say how you're going to get your policies through. But that's what I'm saying. It feels like that maybe the decision he's making is based, or they're making is based around wanting to be at the seat of power immediately. It's not that they want to be in Parliament, it's that they want to be in government. Or else, I'll say it again, or else they wouldn't say no to Labor if their objective was just to get into Parliament, would they?
No.
Yeah. All right, we're going to keep going with this conversation with Mr. Luxon this morning, because I think this is interesting as well. It's a story about, it's part of the conversation where they're talking about their policy from yesterday, better health outcomes. You might be surprised, Trevor, a couple of big holes in it,
Okay, let's talk about your better health outcomes, which you released yesterday. And you've got quite a few points on how to get the health system back on track. You say in your first 100 days you want to make some changes to the healthcare system. What changes will you make in that first 100 days?
Well, what we've said consistently is we're going to increase the healthcare budget each and every year. We know there's massive cost pressures in the system going forward for the next few years, and we're going to continue to support all of that and make sure we get good growth in funding. We're going to move the money from the back office to the frontline services. We're going to put targets back in place. We're going to grow the workforce. But yesterday what we announced was that we're also going to fund continuous glucose monitoring for type 1 diabetes for children under the age of 18. We also announced that we want to have 3-day stays for new.
This is the one I want to talk about. 3-day stays for mums in hospital, right? Because this just goes to show their non-planning sloganeering.
Mums in hospital and make sure they stay there. Or they've got an opportunity.
Do we have the beds
We're
for
going to fund that.
Well, how are you going to do that? We're going to fund that. There's not an answer. Show us your receipts. Show us your workings.
We have the funding in place to make sure that wherever a mum is choosing to have her baby, that actually she has a right to stay there up until 72 hours or 3 days.
Currently, it's an entitlement
up to 2 days. That's where we want to get going with it quickly, but in our 100-day plan, we've announced that on the weekend. We've got a lot of things on our plate to get through. And the third thing, Laura, which I did want to talk about was, we are also going to increase the amount of psychiatrists and psychologists that we train in this country. And so putting some investment and funding into that, because particularly for young people who are trying to get internships, say in psychology, that's been a real challenge and a real difficulty to actually get them trained and set up to go. So those are the 3 new things that we announced yesterday as part of our overall health manifesto.
For a voter at home right now who may be pregnant, when they have their baby in however many months' time, however far along they are, will they be able to stay in hospital for 3 days if you are elected in?
Yes. Yeah, we want them to be able to stay there for 3 days, for 72 hours. Today it's 48 hours, 2 days, and as you know, Laura, many women actually don't know that that's their entitlement. That'll be made very clear to them to make sure that they can actually do that, and they can do it in a place of wherever they choose to have their baby.
So, let's talk about that, shall we? Already within the baby making industry, if there is a need for a mum to stay in hospital or for the baby to stay in hospital, they can stay in hospital for as long as they want, right? They never get kicked out should there be a need for them to stay. What Mr. Luxon has just done is he has potentially tied up hundreds and hundreds of beds for longer than is necessary, and I guarantee you it's going to put pressure on birthing units. There's birthing units all around the country that are private, and he's just said anywhere they choose to have their baby. Those birthing units don't have a huge number of beds like private institutions, right? And he just said anywhere someone chooses to have their baby. You could well have mums going now, I've got another day, so I'm going to stay, when they're completely capable of moving out, and that could hold up the next group of people coming in. To make this, again, a flagship cornerstone policy to say we want our mums to stay for 3 days, wherein the reality is we want our mums to stay for as long as they need it. For some of them, it's more than 3 days. For others, it's far less than 3 days. But now there is going to be more pressure on beds, no more staff turning up all of a sudden, but the same number of mums coming in. Imagine if you now had everyone staying for an extra third, but you got the same number of midwives, the same number of nurses, the same number of beds, but everyone's staying for an extra third. Can anyone else see a bit of a bottleneck coming up there, Chewy, where people are staying longer? And look, I'm not telling to kick mums out either. I know that the other end of the extreme, some people say we got asked to leave after 12 hours. I'm not saying that's okay, but the other side of the extreme, saying now stay for 3 days when some mums don't need to is going to cause a bottleneck. And it feels like electioneering and bumper stickering, again, with no real substance to it. Because if you need to stay for longer than 3 days for whatever medical reason, you stay as long as you need to. That's already I was going to say the law, I don't know, the health system. So this is a peculiar one to me, too. It sounds like someone trying to put out a bumper sticker of this will be a popular policy. Let's just do this, shall we? What are your thoughts?
Pat, if I was an uncharitable person, I would say, don't you worry, because private birthing units are standing by, ready and able to let people stay for 3 days, and they will happily bill the government.
Like that, like what Guru just said.
Oh, well, he's just stolen my idea. Yeah, a massive right-wing donor that owns a whole bunch of birthing units. Why? That's just a fucking coincidence. You know, it's okay. There's been massive problems with maternity beds down in the south of the South Island. People giving birth in cars and stuff like that. It sounds good. It falls apart when you look at it. It is the perfect national policy. It's horribly corrupted, horribly compromised, and he doesn't have an answer for how it works. It's perfect.
And if you're staying for an extra day, so that's 50% longer. Yeah. So for 2 more days, add 1. That 50% of 2 is 1. So you're staying 50% longer. What that actually means in theory is you could be dropping the number of available beds by that same percentage. Because now if you've got 2 beds in your unit, I know they've got bigger than that, and now 2 mums are staying for 3 days, when they could have stayed for a day and a half or 2 days or whatever. Now they're going, well, no, National says I can stay. I'm staying for 3 days. So I don't care. I'm going to stay here. This is hard. It's a new thing. I'm staying here. Sure, fine. No criticism of you, mum. But that now puts pressure on with the next round of mums coming in. Unless, of course, National can also organise, having a timetable for the number of babies being born at the right time so they put no pressure on it. Maybe they can do that. Maybe.
It's just so... why didn't National make their billboards out of lace so you could see through those as well? Why are these gormless idiots on the AM show just letting this guy run his talking points with some pushback? Sure, but it's pretty fucking mild. I just want Jack it doesn't matter what network they're on, what show they're on. Jack Tame should just appear behind Luxon with a sheet of papers going, well, we've looked at the numbers, Chris. You're fucked, mate. And then hit him with a steel chair. Just all the time.
Either Jack Tame or Chloe. Now, the next part, the final part of this conversation I've already brought up earlier, is that, remember, he was saying any party, vote for any other party, it's a vote for National. Of course, Ryan Bridge had to come on and remind Mr. Luxon of his talking points.
It's Ryan here. Nice to have you on the show. At the start of this interview, you said that a vote for TOP or any other minor party is a vote for Labour. Is that true? I mean, if you're voting for ACT or for New Zealand First, you're voting for a change of government too, aren't you?
Well, my message is if you want a guaranteed change of government, what you need is to vote National. That is the thing that I really want people to understand.
But saying that a vote...
But hang on, Mr. Luxon. Remember, those of us who want to see you guys get through are aware you might need some help. And it sounds like you're saying you don't need help, but, I think you have to remember that those of us who want you guys to win need help. So let me just remind you of the talking points here.
But saying that a vote for TOP or a vote for any other minor party being a vote for Labour is not true, is it?
Well, what I mean is my preference is I want everyone voting for the National Party,
right.
And I think we've got the policies and the ideas to take it forward. And what I mean by that is if people of Ilam are watching this, they have a great candidate in Hamish Campbell. We want them party voting National, and anything else is really not going to help guarantee a change of government, and that's what I think most New Zealanders want to see happen.
Not most New Zealanders, some New Zealanders. There you go, Chewy.
Can you imagine, just imagine, 3 years of that man dealing with the media as Prime Minister? We'd never know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
Mr. Luxon, what did you have for breakfast? Look, I think I've been perfectly clear, and the message that I want people to take away is that I enjoy breakfast food. Yeah, great. What did you have? Well, I had breakfast food, as I've previously stated, and I think I've been perfectly clear. Yes, but what breakfast food, motherfucker? Yeah,
no, but you're right, because breakfast is one of the most important meals of the day, and I always make sure that breakfast food is ingested during breakfast time. So thank you for your question.
I eat breakfast food like low and middle income, good, solid Kiwi workers. I eat breakfast. Fucking hell.